Hey everyone, it's SWTOR, and today I'm going to do a review on Star Wars The Old Republic. Now I wanted to take the time to play through the whole game so I could give a good review on what I thought about the game. So this review is a little bit late. I guess first thing I'll talk about is the main package about Star Wars, and what you're going to be looking for here is the storylines. Now, everyone who's played an MMO knows that there's generally no story. Well, there's a story, but there's actually no storytelling. It's all there in text. You can read novels, you can read backstories, all that sort of thing, but there's no actual storytelling, and what there is, it's very, very small. In fact, you don't even feel very involved in these things. Now, BioWare of trying to increase the storyline of Star Wars The Old Republic, and this can be hard because in a multiplayer environment people don't want to be standing around waiting for chatter. They want to go in there and they want to do their missions. They want to play their game. However, what they've done is they've just added the storyline elements mostly to the single player part of the game. Now, in any MMO that comes out these days, you generally just grind your way up to maximum level. There's not really much story to worry about. And it's just the same thing, kill these mobs over and over again. Now, there's 8 different storylines in Star Wars The Old Republic, and each time you play through a character there's a different storyline. And that just helps with replayability. If you're playing one character, you've got their storyline, you go to the other character, you've got their storyline, and then each planet also has a different storyline. So, what I found is this was the best single player experience I've had in an MMO. I actually paid attention to it. I'll remember it. I'll remember the storylines where I don't know what I was doing. For example, when I was playing Lord of the Rings to level 50, I don't remember any of that storyline. And that game even had a pretty well made story element, but this game really pushes it to the max. Now, there's a lot of repeating. For example, I went and did a lot of the side quests, and some of the answers are just pre-recorded. Sometimes you'll hear the same answer to the question that you've asked 50 times, and that can be a little annoying because it just totally knocks you out of any immersion you had in the story. And I can understand it because these are the throwaway quests, and they've still added voice to them. But if you're just going to add voice to them, which is going to be the same answers that you've done for the last 50 quests, then what's the point, really? That was just a small gripe, but overall it's very high quality. All the storytelling for the main storylines is all fresh. There's no repeating in it. It's very well done. Now, this video, it's just going to be running a couple of different classes, so you can see what each of the classes play like that I managed to play while I was playing the beta. And for those people who they like the grindy MMOs, they don't care about the story, even though I think that Star Wars' best feature, pressing the space bar just skips past everything. In fact, when leveling an alt, I didn't really want to go through the same listening of everything that I'd done and heard for the non-story parts, and the space bar just made it so easy to grind. Here's a little story section. You get to hear some of the conversation.
Did Captain Kola send you? Such a good man. A pity he didn't send young Hale, but the honor is yours. You will hear my last words.
Tell me what happened to you.
The Force called me into the desert. I sensed what SWTOR found, an alien power. I saw a white room. I thought the Sand People would know the land's secrets. I murdered them, stole their thoughts to find this cave. I knew victory before they destroyed me.
I followed the shaman's compass, but what is this place?
It is a cave of secrets. My journey here was not for nothing. Zerka built its base over a site from the natives' myths. A forbidden land. The paintings in the cave show the way. Find them. Record them. Gola and his men, they...
Time to die. Goodbye, SWTOR.
So soon. So soon.
Alright, so as you can see there's light and dark options, but I found they had absolutely no effect on the game. And now that's one thing I hate about BioWare games at the moment. They give you this illusion of choice. Yes, you can do a good thing, I can do a bad thing, but it means absolutely nothing. And it was a bit disappointing. I keep killing these guys. No one tries to seek revenge on them. Their apprentices don't care, obviously. If I save him, I'm not really in trouble. My master might complain, and that's it. He doesn't really care, one way or the other. Now, I'm going to talk about combat. Now, combat is a pretty standard MMO combat. The main thing I found different about it was there is no auto attack, so you really have to make sure you're pressing your keys. But the problem with this is I found the rotations too long. 6 to 7 keys I had to fiddle through my rotations, usually over a 30-second period, and I really wish there was maybe at least 5 keys instead of 7 keys that I had to go through for my optimal damage, because I just think it's just a bit crazy. You don't want to spend all that time trying to get your optimal rotation down. You want to be fighting and playing a game and enjoying it. And as I talk about that sort of combat, I would like to say they did a very good job at making Jedi feel like a Jedi. Say you've got explosive barrels around, you can use the Force to blow them up and burn everyone around without even having to go into combat. And you can push people off cliffs, Force choke them, and all these elements are also taken into the multiplayer part of the game. Like, you're going through with a group, there's trash, and if you can throw the trash off the cliff and kill it instantly, just do it. They encourage you to play like a Jedi. One thing I would say is there's probably too many Jedis. I think Republic has got about 60% of people playing Jedis, and the Sith Empire side is far worse with about 80% of people playing Jedis. I think just the Force lightning and double-bladed lightsabers just seem to appeal to everyone. But I would like to say that the non-Jedi classes are absolutely a blast to play, and their storylines are fully developed, and they're definitely worth playing. In fact, they can be extremely fun. I would say with combat there's also a problem with procs. Now, if you're watching the screen here, this is the updated 1.2 version of the screen which just came out. So you can customize your screen a little bit. Now, the buffs are above your character, and even when you've got to worry about procs going off, say to do a massive attack, you've got this one little button that appears between 50 buttons, especially when you're buffed up in a group. You've got all these buffs, and looking for one little icon to come up, just so you know you've got 2 stacks or something, and then you can let off a super lightning blast. It's extremely hard to see, and I want to play the game. I don't want to be babysitting my buff bar. It's bad enough that I've got to babysit my rotation, which can be a little bit too long in my opinion. But there is no support there for the actual gameplay mechanics. The rotations are good. They can be fun to play, but without the actual interface supporting them, it can be a bit of a pain in the arse, to be honest. Now, I guess to talk about the graphics. Now, you've probably been watching them here. I've got everything on max on them, and I have anti-aliasing running just to get rid of the jagged edges. Now, this game has really bad jagged edges. You practically have to have anti-aliasing on, otherwise I couldn't play it. I don't know if it's just the art design, but the way the world's put together, it's made up of a lot of polygons. And they've added support for anti-aliasing in the game, but they just give you a high, medium and a low option. They don't tell you what kind it is. It could be the worst. Well, I found it to really eat up my frame rate, and the game barely ran. I would say to anyone who's got an NVIDIA graphics card to download the latest beta drivers and try and use the new FXAA. I'm using the FXAA anti-aliasing on this game, forced externally, and the game runs beautifully. In fact, since patch 1.2 the game has generally been running a lot better as well. Combat was clunky, skills didn't go off, but with the new patch that all seems to be running a lot better. One thing I would like to say though is there's a lot of loading. Load times can be huge. In fact, they can take up a minute, 2 minutes to get into these planets. Now, if you've got a solid state hard drive, you're going to want to copy this game onto that. But then this game unzips onto the hard drive as well when it loads up a map. And that's just going to slow down your solid state hard drive even more. So if you've got 8 gigabytes of RAM, on the forums there is a way to set up a RAM drive with this game, which reduces the amount of hard drive access that it uses. I've tested it out and it improved my frame rate by 100%, so I recommend anyone who is going to play the game and has a lot of RAM and knows what they're doing with their computer, the RAM drive do heaps for the game. Otherwise, just try and get your game onto a solid state hard drive. But if you can do both, you'll see massive performance increases. I would like to talk about the sound. Now, the sound, you have all your Star Wars sounds, the lightsaber sounds, they're all great. One thing that disappoints me though is the music. There is some good music that goes off during important fights, but other than really important fights and the like, there's not much music. In fact, I went around playing most of the game without any music at all, just these sound effects, and it made the game feel a little desolate. There is so much good music in the Star Wars universe that could have been used, and it just seems to be overlooked. I would like to also say that the graphic style of the game, with this half cartoony look, it's not bad, and I like that they did it, but the only thing that I wish that they would have done is they had a better lighting system. As you can see, there's not much lighting here. There's a little bit of shadow, then there's sunlight. There's no in-betweens. There's no glowing lights or anything like that. Now, if you watch a Star Wars movie, you'll find like the movies just ooze atmosphere, and this game just doesn't seem to have the atmosphere. In fact, as good as the story is at keeping you going in the single-player campaign, the game doesn't actually suck you in to the atmosphere of the game world. Because it's just too cartoony, there's no shadowing that's really of any importance to actually make it feel like a real environment. So I feel like the weight of the story is compromised because the game doesn't take itself that seriously. When it comes to actual content and questing in this game, you can level up the whole game single player, with single player quests, but there's group sections on every map that you can group up to do. And sometimes you can manage to do them just with your companion. You see I've got a companion following me around and he'll talk to me during these story events and the like. And sometimes you need a full group to do them. I actually found myself doing more group content while leveling, while playing this game, which is supposed to be focused on a single player story, than I did in other MMOs which don't have the story. So there is group content to do, and you generally get blue rewards for doing them, which is generally high quality. I would like to say that when it comes to dungeons, there's not much story there. You get your overview of the story, and you go in there, and once you're in there, there's not much to worry about. You don't have to have conversation after conversation after conversation. Only the first dungeon is really like that, but every other one just go through with a group. And you'll notice here in combat that every time there's a pull, you're generally fighting 3 or 4 mobs at a time. It's not like most MMOs where you just fight one thing at a time. There's a difficulty rating on these mobs that tell you just how hard they actually are, so you can judge what you're going to do. And I'll probably recommend to anyone who's going to play this game that you need to put the titles up on mobs. So when you're going around, you can actually see what difficulty level these guys are even before you're attacking them. That's normally off, and when I first started playing, I started running into these hard mobs, and I was just dying a lot. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then I put on the markers, and then the game became a lot more tactical. Actually, it was quite good. Alright, so what you can see here is, this is the planet Alderaan. And what I'm playing here is a Trooper Commando. Now, most commandos have a chain gun, but I thought, why not, I'll try and make a rifle commando, which seems to work quite well. Now, as you can see, these ranged combatants, these non-Jedi, they're just as powerful as a Jedi. They just have different skills, grenades, they use the butt of the weapon, they shoot rifles, that sort of thing. And this one here is actually even a healer, to be honest. But he's spec for DPS. Now, most people are going to probably want to play with a healer companion, which is fine if you're a DPS. And at first, I did find it actually easier to play with a healer companion. I also find it quite easy to play with a DPS companion. The tanking companions, they do kind of lack a little bit because their early skills tend to focus on one-on-one tanking. But as the tanking companions level up, they do collect mobs a lot better, but they just don't collect them as well as a player can. So I think that they could be buffed a little bit. Now what we're going to see here is a major story battle, and then I'm probably going to have a conversation with this guy here, the Wolf Baron. As you can see, the rotation's going along here. Grab round, grab round, grab round, then the auto attack, and then there's like a high impact round that you can fire off. So this class is actually quite easy to play. He generally has 3 or 4 skills that he can use. But others, they're a bit harder. In fact, the Commando is quite popular for one of the non-Jedi classes. And it should come up any moment now, come on.
Impressive. The Sith keep insisting we shouldn't take Republic forces lightly. Now I see why. I am Baron Jarkus Thul, better known as the Wolf Baron. Is the Duke on his way, or did the old man send you in his place?
You said you had 300 Organas prisoner.
Indeed I do. Let me show you.
My name is Brant Son. I'm an 8th-generation subject of House Organa. My family, along with many others, was captured by House Thul. They're treating us well.
Baron, what have you done with my people?
Keep your Duke on a leash, please. The prisoners are in a very precarious situation.
I'm only gonna tell you once. Free the captives. Now.
I have 348 prisoners. I'm willing to make a trade.
I'll do it, Baron. House Organa isn't going to fall without me.
Ha! No! I want your friend. He will become my prisoner in exchange for the hostages.
You're really funny.
I'm very serious. You're more useful to House Organa than the Duke. If I can take you out of commission before the next battle, why not? You can rest happily in our jails until the Republic ransoms you back, or you can have 300 deaths on your conscience.
I'll turn myself in. Let the hostages go.
You will not be forgotten. I swear it.
Use the gas. Keep him incapacitated until the transport is ready.
No movement for hours. We're secure.
What's that? By the entrance.
Attack! Destroy the Thul invaders and free the prisoner!
So what you may have noticed in watching that is there's different voices for different characters. Now when you're in a group and there is a conversation that comes up, all the classes have different voices, so it adds, I don't know, weight to the conversation when actually every player has a different voice. And I think that's just well done by BioWare. And it does vary.
You heard.
Some of the voices aren't as
Came
good
for
as
you as we
others.
heard what happened.
They had me sedated, but they didn't hurt me.
Myself and the others, the Wolf Baron, freed us when you turned yourself in. Our first duty was to rescue you. But the Thul army is on the march again. We need your help. General!
What's House Thul up to now?
Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone.
used
I'd
to
like
fighting
to give
blast
Star
wolves, not
Wars
force.
a 9 out of 10. There are some things I think could be improved, but overall it's a game that I'm probably going to continue playing as there's so many storylines to go through. Thanks for watching.
Go, save our house the way you saved us.